My name is Ray Bradbury. I live in Claycross in Derbyshire with my lovely wife Chrissy, and I have recovered from pulmonary hypertension. In the year 2004, it was a pretty epic year, aside from the fact that I became 50 years of age. As the year wore on, I was beginning to feel not quite the person I was.
He was very ill, but we didn't realise that at the time. He was struggling more and more to breathe, climbing up the stairs, just this small cottage, going across to empty the boot of the car. I realised then things weren't right.
I went to my local GP, as I was advised to do, and he initially thought that I'd actually got a chest infection. So he prescribed me some antibiotics. He also knew at the same time that I was about to fly out to Sydney in Australia with my dear lady for what was to be a holiday and to meet some work colleagues in Sydney.
We'd only been there about 4 days. We'd had a cruise around the harbour, and he struggled to get off the boat after a nice meal. In fact, he left most of the meal.
I was very scared, and I sat in the reception of the hotel. I was in a hot sweat. I couldn't get my breath.
I went back to the reception and said, "Look, he's ill. I can see things are not correct with him." She said, "I'll call an ambulance." I said, "No, we don't have that much time. His lips are turning blue. The lobes of his ears were turning blue."
And my wife managed to second the hotel coach, along with a wheelchair and a driver, and said basically, "Take me to the nearest hospital."
As he went into the trauma room, they said that it was very serious, and had I not have done that, by the time the ambulance had got to the hotel and possibly driven back again, he probably wouldn't still be with us.
The Australian doctors had discovered that Ray had a massive blood clot on his lungs and had given him warfarin to try and break up the clot. After 2.5 months in the Australian hospital, he was escorted back to the UK by a private doctor and brought to see the experts at the Royal Hallamshire Hospital in Sheffield. It was there he was told that the blood clots on his lungs had caused him to develop pulmonary hypertension.
I didn't know too much about it at the time. I have to say I could probably write a book about it now.
I knew he'd had a clot and they'd dispersed it. And when we got back to the UK and he went through these other tests at the Hallamshire, this pulmonary hypertension, where's this come from? You know, unless you're a doctor, and even then maybe many doctors don't know a lot about the condition. How do you find out about it?
I asked the right questions of the right people. They answered them in, shall I say, a more optimistic way, because there are lots of things said about pulmonary hypertension that frankly can frighten the life out of you. The fact is that for some people, and I am one of those lucky people, it is curable.
Ray was sent to Papworth Hospital, where he underwent a major 10-hour operation to remove the blood clots in his lung with the hope that they would release the pressure on his heart and stabilise his pH condition. But it was a very risky procedure.
What goes through your mind when he's in the operating theatre basically is the worry, will he actually pull through at the other end? And before he went down to theatre, we held each other's hand and gave each other a little kiss.
I mean, I don't mind admitting, you know, I left things in this cottage, little notes here and there that meant that perhaps I wasn't coming back. It's a strange feeling. You need to go through this sort of thing and come out the other end to appreciate what it's like.
Must have been a good downfall.
Thanks to a combination of good fortune and early diagnosis, Ray's operation was a complete success, giving him back a healthy and active life with his wife, Christine.
I had the operation on April the 12th of last year, and within 10 days I was actually sat in the back garden of a little cottage my wife and I had hired whilst we were down at Papworth. It's not a world record, but it's not far off it, and I think having gone through such a big operation, to be actually sat at home 10 days after is quite incredible.
Looking at him now, it was all well worth going through that operation, just to see his face when he wakes up in the morning, and I know he's going to have another good day.
Ray's amazing recovery has been helped by the work of the Pulmonary Hypertension Association. Please help us to raise awareness of this little-known but life-threatening disease. Ray and his wife are available for interview through PHA UK.